You've tried everything. Horoscopes, advice, prayers. You searched for answers in signs, in others' words, in anything that might ease this pain. But nothing changes the fact. The absence of this person remains unbearable. Each attempt to move on only proves the opposite. The emptiness is still there. The hole left by longing cannot be filled with distractions, only with what is truly missing: presence, reconciliation, forgiveness. And God is showing this in the clearest way possible. It's no use running away. Without forgiveness, without a sincere reunion, the heart cannot find peace. You feel that, don't you? You can pretend otherwise, distract yourself with trivial things, and tell yourself that everything is fine. But what about when the day ends, when silence takes over? When night falls and the only company left is this pain that refuses to go away? It hurts. You know it hurts. A longing that tightens your chest, that cuts your breath, that makes you relive every conversation, every moment, every mistake. And no matter how many times you try to argue with yourself, justify, blame time, life, fate, none of that erases the truth. You miss them. Not just the person, but what you had. What was broken. What could have been. And maybe you're still waiting for a sign, something to push you into action, something to tell you that it's worth it. But what if that sign is already here? What if God is using this pain to show you that there is no other way? The truth is, this wound won't heal on its own. You can try to sweep your feelings under the rug, pretend you've moved on, convince yourself that you don't need anyone. But deep down, you know, this story isn't over yet. And maybe, at this moment, the other person feels the same way. Maybe she's also trying to suffocate this longing. Maybe she has too much pride to take the first step. Maybe she's waiting for you to do what needs to be done. So why wait any longer? Time doesn't forgive. Opportunities pass by. And one day, it might be too late. Do you really want to carry that regret? Do you want to live knowing you could have tried, but chose silence instead? If the absence still hurts, it's because something needs to be resolved. So, what will you do now? You can continue to ignore it, pretending that this pain will go away on its own, that time will solve it. But how many times have you tried that? How many nights have you spent convincing yourself that everything is fine, only to wake up the next day with the same weight on your chest? Time doesn't heal what needs fixing. It only numbs the pain for a moment, but then it comes back, sometimes even stronger. And do you know why? Because some connections weren't meant to be discarded. Some people come into your life and mark your soul in a way that you can't simply erase. If it were just a passing feeling, this distress would have disappeared by now, but it hasn't. And now, will you keep resisting? Will you let pride speak louder? Or will you finally take action? Maybe you think there's nothing more to be done. That time has worn everything down, that the words that should have been said have been trapped for too long, that the distance between you is now too great to bridge. But is that really true? Or is it just fear holding you back? The fear of not knowing what to say, the fear that it's too late, the fear that the other person has moved on and no longer wants to hear your voice. But what if it's the opposite? What if she's waiting? What if this pain you feel isn't just yours? Have you thought about that? How many times do we postpone the inevitable? How many times do we choose silence when everything inside us screams to do something? Has pride ever brought you any peace? Does the absence of that person not feel like enough of a reason? Or will you continue to carry that weight in your chest, pushing through the days with the suffocating feeling that something is incomplete? You know, God doesn't create an unsettled heart for no reason. He nudges you, presses you, makes the longing hurt even more strongly when you try to ignore it. Maybe this is the answer you've been looking for. So now what? Will you take action? Or will you get lost in another sleepless night, reliving everything once again without doing anything to change it? The decision has always been yours, but time doesn't wait. And what will you do with that? Because time doesn't give you a heads up when it's too late. It doesn't send a sign saying, this is your last chance. It simply passes. And when you realize it, what's left is regret. Have you felt that regret before? Have you found yourself thinking about everything that could have been different if you had acted at the right moment? Have you felt that weight of wanting to turn back time and do what you didn't do? If the answer is yes, then why do you keep making the same mistake? Silence may seem safe, it may seem easier, but it has never solved anything. It only postpones the inevitable. And now once again you're faced with this choice: to remain silent, pretending that this longing isn't slowly killing you, or to take the first step. No one is saying it will be easy. But it doesn't have to be that hard either. You don't need to know exactly what to say. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be sincere. You just need to make clear what you've been holding inside that's preventing you from moving forward. Maybe the answer isn't what you expect. Maybe the other person has their own wounds, their own barriers, but at least you will have tried. At least you will have taken a step toward peace. And at the end of the day, isn't that what you need? Peace, relief, the chance to sleep without that unrest in your chest. Because this story doesn't have to end like this, and you know that. You feel it. So what's holding you back? Pride? Fear? If it's pride, ask yourself, what has it really protected you from, other than yourself? If it's fear, remember, it should never hold more weight than what truly matters. And if it's time? If you think too much time has passed, that it no longer makes sense, then reflect. If that were true, why is this pain still here? Time doesn't erase what is real, it only hides it. But one day, sooner or later, everything comes back to the surface, and if you let this chance slip away, you may one day look back and realize you lost something you should never have lost. So, will you wait for regret to be the only thing left? Or will you do what needs to be done before it's too late? The choice is still in your hands. And now? Will you continue living with this emptiness or finally take action to change it? Because life doesn't wait. Opportunities don't come back. The words left unspoken, the gestures not made, the chances wasted. All of it accumulates like an unbearable burden, and one day it may be too late. Have you ever imagined what it would be like to wake up and realize you lost your last chance? Not because you wanted to, but because you waited too long. Because you let fear paralyze you. Because you chose to protect yourself instead of trying. And what's left after that? The absence that was once nostalgia turns into an irretrievable void. What could have been resolved with a word, a conversation, a gesture, becomes a hole that nothing can fill. And then there's nothing more to be done. You carry that forever. So before that day arrives, ask yourself, what's stopping you from acting now? If it's pride, understand that it has never brought happiness to anyone, just distance, silence, and regret. If it's fear, know that it's just an obstacle between you and the truth. And the truth cannot be ignored forever. If it's about time, forget it. Time doesn't solve anything on its own. It only teaches you to endure, but not to heal. You can choose to keep living with this pain. You can keep pretending that one day it will go away. You can make excuses to put off what needs to be done. But what if you just tried? What if you picked up the phone right now? What if you wrote that message? What if you took that step that should have been taken a long time ago? What's the worst that could happen? A response you might not want to hear. Maybe. But at least you would have the certainty that you tried. You would at least know that you weren't the one who chose silence, distance, and the end. And what's the best that could happen? Peace, relief, the chance to rebuild something that should never have been destroyed. You feel it deep in your soul. So why continue to deceive yourself? God wouldn't place this restlessness in your heart for no reason. He's giving you a push. And now it's up to you to decide. Will you let this moment slip away? Or will you take the action that could change everything? Because in the end, that's what separates those who are stuck in the past from those who allow themselves to move forward. Action, the courage to break the silence, to face whatever is necessary, even without guarantees. What do you have to lose? Think about it. You've already lost sleep, you've already lost peace, you've already wasted too much time carrying this anguish. So what's still holding you back? Pride. Pride has never embraced anyone. It has never brought peace. It has never wiped away tears or filled the void of absence. On the contrary, it only widens the distance. It only deepens the wound. It keeps alive this pain that you pretend to bear. Fear? Yes, fear whispers that you might get hurt, that it might be too late, that maybe there's no turning back. But so what? Fear also whispers lies. It convinces you to stay still while life passes by. It makes you believe that it's better not to risk than to try and fail. But the worst failure isn't trying and failing. The worst failure is never trying. What if there's still time? What if that person is waiting for a sign? What if the longing that eats away at you is also eating away at them? You can't know without taking the first step, and even if the answer isn't what you hope for, at least you'll have done what you could. At least you won't have to carry the weight of doubt, the what if. Life is already full of uncertainties, but this one is in your hands. You feel the absence. You feel the emptiness. You feel the urgency. So when are you going to stop ignoring what your heart already knows? You can wait another day, another week, another year. You can postpone until this chance simply disappears. Or you can make the decision that changes everything right now. Because deep down, you know, silence never brought relief. Time never erased what is true. And this story isn't over yet. The question is, will you be the one responsible for ending it or for rewriting it? The choice is yours. And now, what will you do? Because there are no more excuses. There's no more time to pretend that this pain is just a fleeting nuisance. You already know it isn't. You've tried to ignore it, but it's still here, weighing on your chest, suffocating every thought. And if this isn't a sign, then what more do you need? Life isn't going to stop to give you courage. The universe isn't going to create a perfect moment. God isn't going to force your hands. He's already done his part. He placed this restlessness inside you, showing in every way possible that something needs to be done. Now it's up to you. You can keep carrying this burden, collecting sleepless nights, trying to fill a void that can only be closed in one way, or you can do what needs to be done. If there's still a glimmer of hope, why not try? If this person is still breathing, still walking in this world, then there is still time. But time doesn't mean eternity. Time means now. Time means that at any moment, this choice may no longer exist. So, will you carry that guilt forever? If you knew this was the last opportunity, would you still hesitate? If you could see the future and realize that the chance vanished because you waited too long, would you forgive yourself? Because that's how it happens. Pride holds you back, fear paralyzes you, time deceives you. And when we finally decide to act, it's often too late. But right now, at this very moment, it is not too late. You know what you need to do. You know what your heart is urging you to do. So why aren't you doing it? Why do you keep waiting for something to change without lifting a finger? Life exacts a high price from those who choose to remain passive. It does not forgive those who wait too long to appreciate what truly matters. And now, are you going to hide behind excuses? Are you going to continue pretending that you can live with this absence? Or are you going to face what needs to be faced before it's too late? The choice is still in your hands. But for how long? Because time doesn't warn you when it will be too late. It doesn't give you a heads up. It doesn't put a flashing sign in front of you saying, "Last chance." It simply passes. And when you realize it, all that's left is an emptiness that can't be filled. You can keep pretending that everything is fine, that this longing will dissolve with the days, that the weight will lessen, that one day, without realizing it, this absence will stop hurting. But how long have you been trying to convince yourself of that, and has it ever worked? Or does this anguish just repeat itself every day, returning in moments when you least expect it? When you hear a song, when you pass by a place, when you smell something that transports you directly to everything you insist on burying. The past never dies when there's still something unfinished, and you know that this story isn't over. So why do you insist on running away? Why cling to a silence that has never brought you peace? Does pride still mean more than this person? Because that's what's happening. You have the chance to try, to say what needs to be said, to heal this wound in the only way possible. But you choose to do nothing. You choose silence. You choose to feed a void that only grows. And what happens next? Another sleepless night. Another day pretending that this absence doesn't weigh as much as it does. Another moment wasted waiting for something that will never happen if you don't take action. Do you really want to let the story end like this? Do you really want to spend the rest of your life wondering how it could have been different if you had done something? Because this is the truth. Either you act now, or one day you'll look in the mirror and realize you waited too long. And when that happens, there will be nothing that can be done. Then, indeed, time will have won, and all that will be left is regret. But today is not that day. Today there is still time, there is still a choice, and it is right in front of you now. What will you do with it? The choice is yours. Will you take action or wait for regret? Comment, subscribe, and leave your like now.